In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
What can I get you?
I'd like a large coffee.
Okay, so hot coffee.
Hot coffee.
Okay, room for cream.
Totally leave room for cream.
Why are you talking like that?
Why are you talking like that?
Because this is my voice?
This is my voice.
No, it's not. I heard you talking a minute ago. I know you don't talk like that.
Neither do you, because nobody actually talks like this. You choose to talk like this, and today I chose to talk like this. Pretty fucking annoying, isn't it?
Why are you so rude, man?
Just stop doing that.
I can't help it. This is my voice.
No, it's not. It's an affectation that annoying teenagers and rich people use to sound like they don't give a shit. Except you work in a coffee shop, so I know you're not rich, and you don't look like a teenager. Unless you're Eunice Kennedy Shriver, knock it off.
So just because I talk like this means I don't give a shit? And what exactly am I supposed to not give a shit about?
That's an excellent question to ask yourself in your actual voice.
Excuse me. Some of us would like to order.
Fuck everybody.
You're a total dick, man.
There you go. Good. You're talking.
Whoa, that was intense.
Wow.
Did
that just happen?
Crystal, you don't take shit from anyone. Man.
and for what it's worth, I always thought that was your real voice. Yeah. I just thought you naturally didn't give a shit. So
yeah. Well, most people who work in this establishment naturally don't give a shit about others around them. So,
in fact, I thought it was kind of the law to take up a voice of at least similar affectation if you made minimum wage or around that, just, because it seemed fair.
That is so true. I mean, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to inconvenience you while you were working, Crystal.
Boy. Well, that's we're off to a fast start, but thankfully Crystal knows I always need room for cream.
Oh, don't you? How you doing, man? It's been a while.
There's always room for cream. Okay, how are you?
I'm okay. You were talking. There were some deaths in the news not too long ago.
Oh, well, there's always deaths in the news, but you know about the big ones this week, right? I mean, Ozzy obviously is the biggest.
Yeah.
And then we lose Hulk Hogan 2 days later, which, no offense to Hulk and his camp, but it doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, really, celebrity deaths don't mean anything to me in general. I don't know these people. I can be admirers of their work. Like Ozzy Osbourne, do I have songs of his in my music library? Yes, they are there. There's not every album. I'm not an Ozzy fanatic, but certainly there's maybe, half of most of his albums from the 80s are in my collection. I enjoy the songs, and I'm, again, sorry for him and his loved ones that he's passed, but death is a part of life. It's part of the experience, and he's moved on. And, I mean, he was struggling with a lot of different things. Parkinson's apparently is what claimed him in the end. So anyway, I have a little more of an attachment to Ozzy than I do Hulk Hogan, because like I told you some time ago, I used to watch wrestling before Hulk Hogan came along in the late 70s. And then somewhere between the age of 5 and 7, I graduated from people fake fighting for entertainment purposes. So I moved on and never really cared about WWF, WWE from there. But anyway, Hulk Hogan gone, Ozzy gone off to a different place. And the guy I feel really bad for is Malcolm Jamal Warner, Theo Huxtable from TV's The Cosby Show, because talk about having your fucking party spoiled. I mean, we get word the guy's drowned somewhere in Central America early Tuesday, and within hours, Ozzy Osbourne croaks. I mean, talk about stepping on your cake, your black cake with black frosting, your death cake. Like, damn, he's got to be floating above his body going, shit, man. Like, it just, shit. Like, what did I do?
And he had to have Bill Cosby as a father.
Well, at least he was a fictitious father, right?
Right.
I have a colleague whose birthday is the same as Bill Cosby's, and he told a funny story on the air when it was his birthday. His birthday was on a Saturday, so we looked at the famous birthdays the day before on a Friday, which was the 11th on the show, and he was just like, oh, here's the one that I really used to absolutely just love. It was my favorite, and then it became my least favorite, and it was Bill Cosby, and I was just like, Here's the thing, though. I mean, going back to a few episodes ago, just because the guy turned out to be a rat shit bastard in his personal life, apparently, doesn't mean that what he said all those years wasn't for entertainment purposes only funny. I mean, I feel like you can still laugh at jokes that Bill Cosby told, even though he's one step down from a rapist, from what it sounds like.
You can separate the artist from the man.
Well, it's just, to me, it's just you can't go through life liking somebody's entertainment value. You can't go through life liking Bill Cosby or O.J. Simpson for his running the football or his funny moments in a movie, or Jeffrey Jones or Woody Allen. And we talked about all these people, and then just repudiate yourself from them the second that the shit hits the fan in court, or somebody makes an allegation and it turns out to probably be true, or gets vetted legally to be true. I mean, Jeffrey Jones admitted it, but still, you don't watch the movie. I don't watch the movies that he's in, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Beetlejuice, and say, gosh, I wish he wasn't in this. I mean, can't you just go back to a time when we didn't know he was a shitheel bastard and kind of relish that? I mean, I get that he's, not the most upstanding guy based on what we've discovered about him since then, but does it really mean that we just try to cancel him? You can't. That's where cancel culture doesn't work. You can't cancel the guy from the movie, although I'm sure that's coming. They're going to stick somebody else in the movie. Michael Caine will literally take his place, It'll
be like that scene in Superman where they put him in like a prism and then they just excommunicate them from the universe.
I mean, I'm hearing the line now. Your mother's going to freak out when she sees you cut holes in her $300 sheets. And it's just like, it just doesn't quite come across the same way, does it? Like,
when is your birthday, by the way? What date is your birthday?
I've got you now, Bueller. You're in my sights. It's like, Michael, that's brilliant. Brilliant, Michael. Way to go. We're going to cast you over. We're just going to put you in there CGI style. And
September?
Is that all right? Did I really?
Is that your birthday?
Mine was a week ago.
Oh, man.
Mine was last week.
I missed it. July.
I think I got 2 greetings. I think I got all of 2 greetings this year, and it's totally fine.
July 20th?
Yeah. Well, can I really say? Is it really safe to say my birthday on a podcast? People might be stalking me.
Well,
already,
I'll cut it out. What is it?
It's the July 16th.
July 16th. I was going to play a little game with you, and actually, that you said celebrity birthdays. Let's compare our 2 birthdays and see who has the better roster of celebrities on their birthday.
All right.
Ooh, right out of the.
I know mine by heart because I've known them for years.
Okay.
So and also so people know, we're dealing with we're dealing with cardinal fire babies. We're dealing with Aries babies on Michael's front, and we're dealing with cardinal water babies, Cancer babies on Jack's front. So that's what our sun signs are. So that's what these celebrities also are.
So what is yours that you want to add to the table? Because I've got a list of people here that are your birthdays.
Do you know yours by chance, by heart?
No,
at all?
No way. I think I knew one of them, but
I do, and I have 2 favorites from my list. So do you want me to just tell you who those are?
You tell me who your favorites are.
My favorites are Phoebe Cates and Orville Redenbacher.
They didn't even make this list.
What?
No, they didn't even make this list. I'm looking at the list.
Get rid of the list you're looking at.
Generated by AI, which is, of course, any other.
I'll send you to the right website. When you're April 3rd,
Yeah,
because you're actually my ex-wife's birthday. How
So-
could I forget that?
yeah, of course. Jimmy Johnson is born
Yes, Jimmy Johnson.
on your day. Corey Feldman from Goonies.
Corey Feldman.
That's a great one.
Who I used to hold in higher regard, but no more.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I don't dislike Corey Feldman, but he's gotten a little bit strange for me. Like, it was really cool to have one of the Corey's birthdays shared with me, but then, like, Maddie, she's a fan of the Coreys, but she's a much bigger Haim person than Feldman. So
Okay, and then
that's
I think
disappointing.
your ace in the
But
hole.
I understand it.
You've got two aces, I think, on this list. You've got Will Ferrell and Barry Sanders. So there's
Barry Sanders and I actually share a little bit in common because Barry Sanders walked away from football before the season before he was scheduled to set all of the NFL rushing records, and everybody was like, "Why, Barry? Why? Why would you step down now? You're about to get all the records." He was like, "Because I am an athlete and my knees are like half fucking shot, and I'd like to use them and be able to walk the rest of my life. So numbers are numbers. Somebody will just break my records anyway. Who cares? I've had a good run. I'm appreciative of the fact that someone has handed off a ball to me for all these years, and I've made millions of dollars and had celebrity status. I've lived a lot better life than most of the people in the world by most standards. So I'm going to quit while I'm ahead." I respect that. And I also quit sportscasting, not because I wanted to save my voice, but because I graduated from it on some level, as we've talked about. And I still get shit, especially from one colleague who's just like, "When are you going to come back? When are you going to make a return? When's Jack Hansen going to make his big return to the sportscasting booth?" I'm like, it's not ever going to happen. I'm done. I'm finished with it. And people just don't understand it, how you can walk away from something because you've outgrown it. But anyway.
I'm not going on, man.
Start going through yours?
Okay, so I've got a few aces on mine.
Yours.
I've got a few aces.
I want to go through some of your two of clubs actually first.
Okay, so Adam Scott is one of my two of clubs. David Hyde Pierce.
Scott. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Pierce.
Yeah. Okay, now we're gonna go up a notch. Alec Baldwin, Eddie Murphy.
Oh wow! All right.
And
that's
I think
that's kind of a mixed one.
Yeah, I think the number one ace that I have, Wayne Newton.
Oh wow, yeah, that's definitely an ace. Wayne Newton is your ace of hearts, I would think for sure. Eddie Murphy's more, no offense, Eddie, but kind of like a queen of spades.
I would say, yeah, I would say queen.
He's maybe
Queen of Hearts, maybe.
No, more like Queen of Diamonds, perhaps. So, I mean, not quite total highbrow, but getting there. You also have Doris Day. I noticed that's Marlon Brando is you. What else we got on this list here? See, the list I use is like ridiculously comprehensive. 9/10 of the people you've never heard of before, and so it's extremely comprehensive. It's a very good one. Jane Goodall is you, so that's a good one. We all like Jane Goodall, right? Let me see who else is on this list here. Who else is Michael sharing birthday cake with every year? Some guy named Billy Joe Royal, American country and pop singer. Never heard of him. Down in the Boondocks. He was born in Valdosta, Georgia.
You've never heard of Down in the Boondocks?
No way. No way. No way. No way. No way. This is amazing. Marsha Mason, who was married to Neil Simon, by the way, and is a great actress. She was in some lovely movies. A couple that I adore, Max Dugan Returns and also The Goodbye Girl, which Neil Simon wrote. Both of those, actually. Guess what, though? And I'm absolutely, you can look it up. I'm not fudging here. I would never pull your leg on something this serendipitous. Michael Elliott was born on this date as well. Not the Michael Elliott Olympic skier
of
from
course.
Durango, Colorado. He participated in the 1968 games. No fooling. Michael Elliott on this list.
I can hear the conspiracy. I can hear the conspiracy theorists already at work.
Social media influencers and reality TV stars have no fucking clue who any of them are.
Right.
None. Like zero. It's like I'd never heard of them.
Smash the subscribe button.
Aren't you glad we don't ever do that?
I'm glad we don't usually say that.
We never say it, and I'm so glad that we don't, because it typically happens within the first 6 seconds before they've even set up the video. It's, hey guys, I'm Heath Lesher. I'm going to tell you all about today biscuits and gravy that I want to try at some of the best. Don't hit that subscribe button. It says he didn't even finish the statement. We were in the middle of setting up what today's video is about, and you just couldn't wait to hit the subscribe button, because that's how you are going to be able to quit the photo mat.
Have we talked about sailing videos on the podcast before?
You mean like the video for the song Sailing from Christopher Cross? No,
it's similar, but no, there's sailing videos on YouTube that I think, they're sailing videos, but I also kind of feel like they really lean heavy into the, how should I say this? Very few of these subscribers to said sailing videos are probably fellow sailors. I believe,
yes, because it's an expensive sport.
They're probably more interested in the scantily dressed females who are also sailing on these videos. They're just kind of almost like underground porn on YouTube.
Yes. There's also the take a ride in my hypercar videos, and it's the same thing. The girls are wearing bikinis or tube tops or something, their boobs bounce all over, and that's the whole point of watching the video. Yeah, great, good stuff. Good stuff right there. I mean, Tawny Katane made a living on the hood of a Jaguar for a couple of years when she was seeing David Coverdale. I mean, the entire video for Still of the Night, if I'm not mistaken, is Tawny Katane on the hood of a Jaguar XJ6. And I don't even know that it was owned by her boyfriend. So it's kind of like sensory overload to an alpha male, to those hot rod magazines, because it's like, here's Lacey, whose measurements are 24, 38, 24, and she's clinging to the rear tires of a 1970 Dodge Daytona Superbird, and it's like, which is going to make you cream yourself first, the car or the girl? Like, if you're a housewife and you walk into your boyfriend's bathroom or your husband, and you find a stash of hot rod magazines and the pages are stuck together, you gotta wonder, like, well, I wonder which one of these things it is that's getting him off, because is it the ultimate dump? It's both at the same time, or is it literally one or the other? I don't know. I was never into those.
Yeah, it's interesting that then you have kind of the car and driver crowd who is more of the auto enthusiast scientist than they are the meathead.
It's just like, here, have a full meal, Jack. It's right in front of you. No, I think I'd prefer to sit here and stare at a couple of the French fries in the bag and not touch them. It's just...
Well, it's all clickbait. We're surrounded by clickbait, aren't we?
Well, I'll tell you, it's some kind of bait. I don't think I'd be willing to fish with her, even though she looks like she might catch something. You could probably catch something from her, too. Sailing videos. So where, pray tell, Michael, did you come across these sailing videos?
I want to say that they were in one of my feeds on YouTube. And because, I'm not a sailor. I don't have any interest in sailing. And then all of a sudden, these sailing videos started popping up. And I was just like, this is like a thing. Well, it's not just like one channel. I mean, there's got to be at least 4 or 5 different channels that these, once you start clicking on one, it starts repopulating others that are similar to it, right? Just like a good AI algorithm would. And so you start to see pretty quickly that there's at least 5 or 6 different channels that are very much the same. And I didn't know if it was like a sailing thing or if maybe there were even other genres of videos that are very similar. Like,
and I can hear it now. Honey, I looked at your YouTube today because Melissa didn't know who Hulk Hogan was, and I wanted to show her a video, and it was on your account. Why are you getting recommended all of these sailing videos with these hot girls in bikinis? Well, I'm a big Christopher Cross fan, and was trying to find out if they ever made a video for that great song he did, that album with the flamingo on the cover. All of his albums have flamingos on the cover. Oh, yeah, right. Digressing completely here to a different topic, you were telling me about these balls that you wanted to discuss.
From sailing videos to balls.
Yeah.
Let me talk to you about these balls that I found on the internet.
From the balls of juicy, sweaty men in their man caves that are watching sailing videos on YouTube to balls of a different variety, chromium or something from, Moscovium. They're flying in from outer space or something. You are using a term for them, which I actually hadn't heard before in the world of ufology, but I've heard of these balls before. So school us on what this is all about. Right.
Well, thanks for teeing that one up for me. Yeah, the Buga sphere. So it's a metal object or metallic orb. They don't really know what it's made out of. And it was discovered in Buga, Colombia, hence the name, the Buga sphere. And it was spotted flying over a city. It was videoed in two different instances where in one video it's flying near some high-tension power lines, and it strikes one of the power lines, which then causes it to lose power and fall to the ground, much like, my drone would do if it hit a high-wattage power line. But because this thing is made out of metal, it obviously conducts electricity really well. And, it was one of these videos that popped up, I think, in the Gaia universe and the Stephen Greer universe. And as anyone knows who maybe is into ufology, once you start kind of watching and following these videos, they have a tendency to follow you. They have a tendency to pop up on your purview more and more and more and more. And I would say that, probably since you and I started doing this podcast, there's some pretty random things that have popped up on my feed based on, what my phone has heard me say or what, content is associated with my profiles online. But
along with sailing videos.
With sailing videos, of course. But the sphere is flying over Buga, Colombia, and there's a man, Jaime, I forget his last name. Do you remember his name?
Yeah. He's like we called him the Mexican George Knapp. He's like the George Knapp of Mexico. Jaime, I don't recall his last name.
That is a good name for it, yes. So Jaime ends up getting brought into this conversation because this man has found this Buga sphere, doesn't know what it is, and is apparently being, what were they saying? That he's being threatened by not giving this sphere up to the men in black who are contacting him saying, hey, it's our sphere. Bad things are going to happen to you if you don't give it back to us. And so, Jaime, of course, being the the well-intentioned vigilante of ufology that he is, says, well, I'll take it off your hands. So Jaime goes down to Buga, Colombia, or roundabouts, and ends up smuggling the sphere out of Colombia. And Jaime, he is kind of one of those people who reminds me very much like the Dos Equis man in the most interesting man in the world. He's not, he's got a beard, and he just kind of the way he carries himself, he kind of reminds me of that man. So I don't normally smuggle things out of countries, but when I do it for ufology. And
yeah, of course.
So Jaime brings...
Jaime Musan is his name, by the way.
Jaime Musan, thank you. So Jaime Musan knows all the right people in all the right places, and ends up contacting another man who is a friend of ufology who happens to be an attorney, And this man creates a 401c3 or 501c3, and he gets all the proper documentation together so that Jaime can protect the sphere. Okay, so Stephen Greer is also another celebrity or ufologist that has joined this circle as well. He was at a press conference that Jaime had in what looked like maybe a mall somewhere in Mexico City. You can check out the documentary on Gaia if you're a member of Gaia or if you subscribe to Gaia. Point being, I don't know what this Bugosphere is, but it is another example of, I think, people immediately going to this conclusion of, well, it has to be extraterrestrial. And there are some hieroglyphics that are on the Bugosphere, and I'm having a hard time making the leap from this thing has fiber optic cable like things in it, and we don't really know how it's constructed, but we immediately say, oh, it has to be alien.
I can't say that I'm as familiar with the modern storyline as you just described, but orbs and balls of light and metal spheres even have long been a part of the experiencer phenomenon, or close encounters of the first kind, you could say. People have seen these near craft that are of unexplained origin, seemingly. They can't be readily identified or have a prosaic explanation attached to them easily. So that's not new. Remember, Jaime was also responsible for bringing to the forefront the Atacama humanoid, the little tiny alien skeleton that Dr. Greer got very invested in as well and got worked up about. But then the problem is that the skeleton is sent here for testing, and then it's sent there, and then it's returned, and then the results are inconclusive, and then one laboratory says there's absolutely unidentifiable DNA or bone structure or something, which proves that it isn't from earthly origins, to one person's satisfaction, but then other camps aren't satisfied. And then, of course, at some point, there's the dreaded, well, the bones that we got returned were fake. This is not the same skeleton. Somebody's made a miniature replica because they had time to whittle the bones out of Rice Krispies in their spare time, and now we don't have the Atacama humanoid anymore because they've confiscated it. So, I mean, the problem is that I think we're dealing with something that's it's still so fantastical because it either hasn't penetrated the realm of our reality yet, or probably more than likely, it doesn't belong within the reality that we've created. Because look at what we're busy fucking around with. Hulk Hogan died. Ozzy Osbourne's dead. Sailing videos. Have you heard of them, Jack? Oh my God, you got to see these things. I mean, they started getting recommended to me. There's boobs galore. You wouldn't believe it, on a boat this time. So look at the fucking, I mean, those are a handful of millions of examples of the stuff that we're doing. Look, we're not in league with our ET friends who have had a little bit longer maybe to figure some of this stuff out and get through these stages of their civilization or their evolution, dare I say, in some sentient way. So I'm not sure that it's about the phenomenon ever penetrating our bubble. I don't think it belongs in our bubble. I think we have to burst the bubble, or at least punch some holes in it ourselves, to be able to understand what this is, because it's on the outside of our bubble and it's going to stay there. It has no place being inside of our bubble. So I think it's more of an outside looking in than an inside looking out type of equation for my satisfaction. So This just goes along with one of many different UFO, tendrils, I guess you could say, or branches of the phenomenon. And yeah, the same guys look at it, the same guys analyze it, the same guys come to what you are going to guess would be the same conclusion that they would, because they're always in one camp or another. And then something happens to the evidence to either destroy it or sully it, or they've confiscated it or stolen it, or somebody, then there's this big conspiracy that seems to always spiral or end up spiraling around it. And then it winds up as nebulous or even more ambiguous than it was to begin with.
I would kind of almost equate it to like a hall of mirrors. You never really the conspiracy theory kind of self perpetuates itself.
Well, it's just we're. I was talking about this just the other day. We are, and it was last night. Now that I recall, I was talking about this. We are already at, I think, one of the greatest acmes in the history of mistrust. We don't trust a thing that we're told. Sadly, we still follow around, a lot of these celebrities and a lot of these, reality stars and political figures for that matter. And, we still follow a lot of people around and we want to mimic them, or we want to, we support them because we just can't help but be sheep, I guess, in that capacity. But we also don't believe anything we're told. And I don't think that's a bad idea, because we've been lied to enormously over the years by our own government. And, that's a daily happening. But now what spurred this thought was I'm reading about a video that has suddenly surfaced apparently on social media, TikTok in particular, of all of these animals that are purportedly leaving Yellowstone National Park in mass. They're getting out because the supervolcano is about to blow, and they know it. And much like before Krakatoa blew the whole island was blown apart in Indonesia in 1883, sailors from Australia and from Singapore and from mainland Asia that use that route were seeing herds of animals from the island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, just swimming. And they're like, what the hell is this? Well, and then a week later, the whole island blew up. It was the loudest sound ever recorded in humanity's history to date. That's how loud it was. And we, in 1883, sound equipment, not the best, but we actually had it at that time. And so it still holds that record. Apparently, according to then the government comes out, then Yellowstone, the Park Service comes out and says, look, this video that's circulating, it's not real. It's completely AI generated. Some of these animals we don't even have at the park. Animals are not leaving the park in mass at all. Even if they were, there's no scientific evidence to support that this happens before eruptions of volcanoes and seismic activity, which I think it's pretty clear that it does, but they're saying no. But then, so now all of a sudden we're in a battle. Well, who do you believe? I mean, because if Yellowstone is about to blow, they're not going to say a fucking thing, man. What's going to happen is Elon and who and all of the buddies that are in that circle are going to get their asses up to the moon or to Mars as quickly as they can and try to terraform it and get out of here. They're going to look for ways to survive, or they're going to go hide underground while the rest of us get blown to oblivion. We all know that's the reality of the circumstance. There's no way they're going to let life just come to a grinding halt and create the panic that would, because if that event were to occur while we live the way that we do today, well, needless to say, we aren't going to live this way for much longer. It's truly something biblical that's going to change the world forever. So they're not going to say shit about it. We know that. So now you're stuck in this vacuum between, well, so what's the truth? Do we believe the Park Service attached to the federal government, who we know wouldn't say, oh yeah, we're going to confirm this. They're not going to say that. Or we live in a world where fakery is a daily affect of society, where people make up shit all the time. And now they have a way to actually show you visual proof.
Right.
It used to be just a story that they would come back from the woods. Old Jed said he saw something last night. Yeah, a lot of animals coming off the ridge. I don't know what's going on. No, not today. Now we have a video to show you.
Yeah, Jim Bob can dial up a video and...
Yeah, and it works so well that it's very convincing to a lot of people. So we're screwed, because this is not technology that belongs in the hands of people that practice perpetual mendacity like we do. We're so busy lying to ourselves and to each other for one purpose of gain or ulterior motive or another. Man, we can't keep track of our lies. So the UFO phenomenon has just entered an entirely new landscape, in my opinion, because now videos can be faked to no end. And now we've got something that quite honestly sounds like it's out of Phantasm that's cross-sectioning with the UFO world. We've got steel balls. I mean, when do the blades come out of it and drill into somebody's, third eye like they happen in the movie? If you've ever seen those movies, I mean, you're gonna have to draw your own conclusions, and you're also going to have to vet very carefully some of these figures that are in the public eye who are giving us this information and giving us their opinion, be it expert, scientific, or otherwise, on the phenomenon. For all I know, Stephen Greer, who, we've long touted and been a big supporter of, maybe he's flipped. Maybe he's flipped his nut. Maybe he was always crazy. I don't know. It just made sense to me over the years. But maybe he finally just said, you know what, guys, I'm on board. Maybe they threatened him to the point where he couldn't take it anymore, and he's part of some sub-conspiracy now. I don't know. You can't know these things. And so, again, I think you have to take it outside of the world that we live in, first of all, this human thing, because we're the only ones doing this, unless there's another species that's stuck in the same gear somewhere. And I'm sure there's probably many, but we're one of few species that are doing this right now, collectively playing this ridiculous game. And then you got to take it out of that and put it into a different sphere of existence. And then you have to analyze it for yourself and go from there. Is this the smoking gun that we've been waiting for? I think the days of the smoking gun are over. Mm-hmm. I don't think we need a smoking gun. I think we know that there is something out there. I think we know that it may be here. How that's going to be revealed to us in a way that is individually and collectively meaningful enough to make an impact is yet to be determined. But I think that this phenomenon, whatever is behind it, is vastly more intelligent than we are in all ways, and in particular in a spiritual sense, or something that could be considered metaphysical, and it's transcendent of any lies that we would be able to tell. There is proof that's empirical on a level that we're not even familiar with yet that awaits us regarding this phenomenon. So have some fun with it in the interim, believe what you want to, believe what feels good, and then just move on with what you have to do while you're here in this experience.
There was a theory.
Be my advice.
Yeah, no, I like that. And that's good advice, I think. I think for a lot of things, especially when you consider how inundated we are with this kind of content, whether it's, there was a video the other day that I ran across on YouTube, and it was like, this is how Americans clear forests. And it was this AI generated chain that these bulldozers were dragging across this landscape. And I was thinking to myself, first off, that doesn't look anything like the United States. And so, of course, I reported it as spam, and it had, 4 million views. But, I think that when we're surrounded by this content that is generated to whatever agenda it might be generated to, and maybe there isn't even, a thought even beyond that. Maybe it's just self-generated by AI. Who knows? But when I was looking at this documentary, and they were showing this press conference that happened in what looked like it was a mall in Mexico, I was thinking to myself, Stephen Greer's in the front seat. There were a few other ufologists that I recognized. One who we couldn't come up with the name, but I was thinking to myself, this is what disclosure looks like. It's a foreign country somewhere, and there's a bunch of people who have gathered to essentially see what they believe as disclosure, or quote, the smoking gun. And there's an ability to then have that happen in hundreds of different areas across the world. And it's just like what you said. I mean, people are going to believe what they want to believe, and at the end of the day, that's really all it is.
But I also feel like it's the biggest game of Chicken Little that's ever existed, because when your child has lied to you 100 times about whether they brush their teeth or not,
Yeah.
the evening that they actually do, and you ask them, do you believe them? Of
Right.
course not.
Right.
You're not inclined to buy it, even though it may be true. So that's the other problem that we find ourselves in, is even if any government, the U.S., France, Malta, I mean, take your pick.
Right.
It could even be like somebody is like, Malta, why are they disclosing it? Well, we've given it over. They're the ones that are going to do it. I mean, especially larger governments like the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Well, we don't have the Soviet Union anymore, but Soviet Union / Russia, because a lot of the sightings, go back to the Soviet Union times. Anyway, the point is, president's calling a press conference tonight. My fellow Americans, it's, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. It's the biggest thing in the world. You have to be there. You have to watch it. Don't care if you like the guy or not. This is earth-shattering news. Everybody's got to be tuned in, okay? He's going to say something that's going to just, and here it is, well, much as I hate to say it, they don't like KFC. I've tried to feed it to them. I've seen these things.
I got to cue the music for this one.
I was taken into a bunker. I was shown they're real. They're not puppets. I took them a hamburger. This is not Mac and me. They won't eat our food. It's weird. I don't like them. I don't trust them, but I'm here to tell you it's real.
Mr. President, could you ask them about the Epstein list? What do they know about the Epstein list?
Have him shot, have him removed, and then shot. That's where we're going to.
That is really what it would sound like.
So, again, I'm taking liberties of a humorous variety there, but really, here it is, folks. This is everything that we know, and it really is. Are we going to buy it? I'm not, because that's where I'm at. I've already said that. I'm firmly ensconced in that stance. I am not believing anything that the official narrative is spinning, not even for a second. And that's sad, because after being lied to 97,000 times, when they finally decide to tell the truth, because it's now in their best interest for whatever reason, we know that's the only reason that they're going to tell us, is because it now suits their narrative. It's just like, well, we lied to him 97,000 times about it, but for once, the truth is actually going to suit our purposes, because we want this. And the truth, from all of our analysts' perspective, is what that is going to accomplish in the psyche of the American people. So we're going to tell them the truth. And they say, no, we can't tell them the truth. We never tell them the truth about anything. Never. Can't be done. It's wrong. It's the wrong thing. Nope. We've decided this is it. See, that's what's so sad about it. That's what's so just ridiculous.
It reminds me of the slogan on the Golden Arches, over 1 billion served.
Yeah, 1 billion lies served, that is. Yeah. I don't believe, and I'm in the news business, and I'm hit with that stuff every day.
Let's go down that rabbit hole just a little bit further, because, I keep asking myself, is one of the reasons why we're being, served all of these UAP story bylines? And you have to admit, you've followed this most of your life. I've dabbled in it vicariously through most of my life. And I never thought I would see the day that Congress would have some sort of committee hearing on unidentified aerial phenomenon. And I don't think we ever would have thought that we would have gotten to this point without having, some kind of a craft land on the lawn of the White House and say, take me to your leader. That's kind of the stereotypical thing that we always joked about, right? But it seems almost like there's a desensitization that is happening in this topic. And it almost seems like the crazier, far-fetched idea that gets thrown out there, the more like reality it becomes.
Well, and this is where I think Stephen Greer is right, because you can't deny history. You can't deny what we continue to see served and serviced in the highest possible order, and that is the rich get richer, and war is a big money maker for those who are wealthy. Anytime there's war anywhere, the wealthy are always getting a little bit more well-to-do, and so that makes sense. So his theory about this dark faction that is running amok, that wants to begin this war in space so that trillions more can get dedicated to manufacturing rockets and bombs, red glare, and missiles, oh my, so that we can fight this invisible enemy from outer space that doesn't exist, but we're going to fake it. It's a big continuous false flag one day after another, so that a bunch of people who are already on top to an incredible degree can stay there and get even further up. I mean, that makes sense because that follows the human equation to a T. That follows where we're at principally and morally and ethically and integrally. It's just that's where we're at. That's the game, and they're not going to give up their game anytime soon. And that's what is facing everybody here, is that the game is not sustainable. And I know that, we don't want to continue to circle back to the same theme over and over again, but it's hard to avoid, especially with a topic like disclosure, as far as I'm concerned, because that's what sits at the root of it. That's what the hand of humanity has to be forced, and that's the hand that has to be forced, is you guys can't do this anymore because it isn't sustainable. You've had your fun, you've played your game, you've made a bunch of plastic toys. Some people have gotten a lot of them, some people have gotten very few. Many have been exploited so that they could be made and trafficked. That isn't sustainable, and you have to realize it, and it's time to stop and invite something new into your world. It's time to look at a different way to exist within the cosmos, and we are here to guide you through that process, and even with your permission, help you, hands-on help. But we're not doing it while you're in this state. And that's what's so interesting about the meeting that, President Eisenhower was supposed to have had with the different races of aliens in the desert of Southern California at the Air Force Base. I don't remember which one it was now, but there's a big story about that. They felt like it was really cooked up because he was supposed to have been off having dental work that week. But he was off for far longer than the dental work would have taken. And also, the trail of paper goes in the wrong direction for him to have been seeing the White House dentist or his dentist back home. I don't remember where Ike was from, but in his home state, it doesn't exist. It's gone. And that would be something that should have even been manufactured that's not there. And so there's a lot of different evidence that points to Eisenhower was in Southern California during that time when he disappeared altogether from the White House, wasn't seen, wasn't there to answer questions. Where's the president? Now he's gone having a molar fixed. No, he's in the desert of Southern California meeting with the alien races that we've been in contact with. I think there were supposed to be 5 or 6 or 7 of them at the most. He was supposed to have been very freaked out by the human-looking ones, the ones that basically are us, but they're not from around these parts. Those bothered him a lot, according to his advisors and people that were close to him, because he felt like they were able to deceive humanity because they were already human. They looked exactly like humans. But the other races, the grays and the tall whites and the ones that you hear about, those were more fascinating to him, and he was able to deal with them. And, the ending of that story is that instead of some of the alien races offered us a chance to advance. They said, Mr. President, we'd like to basically, with your permission, have the hands of your nation and then the globe, put them out so that we can take them and guide you into a brand new world, the likes of which you'll truly be amazed by. Whereas a couple of the other races that apparently have more ulterior motives of their own said, we'll give you the technology you're looking for. We just want the right to abduct a certain number of people. And also, we want this and this, and there were terms. And that apparently is the deal that was struck, according to the legend, is that the tantalization of that kind of technology, especially weaponry that could be manufactured for purposes of weapons so that you could be the supreme kingdom of the world still, was just too great for Eisenhower, who was a military man, remember, and his advisors. And that was what happened. That one opportunity fell through the looking glass because the temptation was just too great. Now, Eisenhower, to his credit, did spend most of the last term of his presidency trying to fight against the factions that were taking over the military industrial complex. He spent most of his last term, all 4 years, speaking out tremendously against the military industrial complex and how dangerous it was becoming because it was privatizing, not publicly either, very rapidly, that there were some dark factions that were getting their hands on our weapons and our military and gaining control of them and gaining control of the finances to be able to continue to make them and deploy them.
The government contractors we've talked about that cozy relationship.
It's a different time now, and who knows if that's even true. Of course, there's no way to prove that. If it is, sadly, it's almost a who cares at this point, because you're talking about something that happened 70 years ago, and there's no going back to that moment and doing something different. So we are where we are in this timeline, as I keep, seeing. People are into this. We live in the timeline where Hulk Hogan's dead and not the one where he had green hair and lived to be 95. I'm sure that one exists, but we got the one that we're on, either by the accumulation of choice or just by random circumstance. So this is where we're at. And
the tall Nordics have probably they've probably evolved very far in 70 years, I would imagine, since their meeting with Dwight Eisenhower.
I don't know. I'm tall and Nordic myself, but maybe I am from there for all.
You're a hybrid. You are one of them, aren't you?
I've always identified as a star seed, but in a different way, not so much physically. I really do feel like it's more of an individual. It's more individual at this point in time than it is collective. This whole thing about disclosure, it's run aground. The time for, like you said, the White House lawn, take me to your leader, that's over. That's long since been dead for a lot of reasons. And I almost feel like we are at the crossroads where maybe we are phasing in and out of different realities every day, and we're making our choice. That's one theory that's out there, is that it's one theory about the Koyaanisqatsi that exists, is that, instead of there being just one linear track, because I know at least, or can certainly sense and have my whole life, that existence isn't linear. It doesn't exist on this line like we think it is, this beginning and middle and end like stories. Everything exists all at the same time that is, ever has been, and ever will be. It's all there already. And so how you bring that into some kind of real world geometry, I don't know. But it makes more sense to me that it would be applied universally that way. And so maybe, there are theories that the choices that we individually make every day are aligning us with one different universe that may be further removed from the one that is doomed, or bring us closer to that one. And maybe we're coming to that end game soon. And this whole deal with, the ETs that are on the other side of this, because after all, that is the ending of the story of the Hopis and the Koyaanisqatsi, is that if this path of humanity is chosen, that it continues, the line doesn't end, the line continues, then the blue star Kachina appears in the square, in their lore, it appears before them in their ceremony, and he takes off his mask and reveals himself. And that, again, in some people's estimation, is the visitors, the people, the beings that have been watching us and guiding us since the beginning of this experiment we call humanity, and they will reveal themselves to us, and a brand new world will be born in every sense of the word. If you want to be a part of that, I guess it's time to get on board with a few things that would move you closer to it, per the Hopi tradition, or something close.
Well, and I think this whole topic, I feel in many ways is kind of like, it's kind of like fast food for your brain. I think to some degree humans have evolved to a point where we love the fantasy side of, there's these beings that are visiting us and they're far more advanced than us, and they have all these wonderful, views of how the universe can live in harmony, and they don't want to annihilate us because they live in harmony all the time. And I think they're to some degree, again, it's like fast food for your brain. And I think that humans try to create all of these reasons why we exist. And, you can trace that all the way through the existence of human beings, that we always want to try to come up with some answer as to why we exist. And I think this is just another one of those timelines. This is another one of those things that we like to preoccupy ourselves with when we're not watching sailing videos or mourning a few people that we used to watch on TV.
There's a song that's really well known by Pink Floyd called Comfortably Numb that I feel like fits this equation to a T as well, because that's exactly what the westernized world has become. It's comfortably numb to a world that might lie beyond this world. When you ask people, what would your ideal world be? If you could have anything that you want today, right now, if the genie popped out of the bottle and there wasn't a trick on the other side of it, it was legitimate, you can literally have anything that you desire, what would it be? We would have a world filled with people who can eat Doritos morning, noon, and night and never gain a pound or get diabetes, and probably have large harems of women who go sailing with them in the nude. And, we're literally going to be basking in a refuge of external pleasures, the likes of which, the size of which we would never be able to comprehend. Most people would opt for what they have been shown, for what they have been told their whole life is an optimal existence, which is one of the most comfort that is possible in an exterior way. And that's understandable, because even Eastern traditions tell us that life is suffering. And once you get used to that, now things aren't so bad, but you're going to suffer anyway. And that goes for the king too. But the king has it a lot better because he has a lot of ways to waylay the suffering. He has a lot of ways to be able to, he's got all of the wine that he wants. He's got all of the foot massagers that he needs, and they're beautiful, and he can summon them over to pleasure him whenever he wants. So he has many, many factions of distraction at his disposal, whereas the commoner, or as I said earlier to you, and you liked the plebeian, if we want to go Roman, doesn't have access to those things. The suffering is the only reality that they will know. But think about that. Put it in a vacuum for a second and analyze what I just said. At the end of all of that, what is the king doing? And what does the plebeian pray for to be more like the king? Something to distract them from the reality of how harsh the physical realm is. The physical nature of this experience is tough. And that's what all of this creature comfort crap that we push at each other has been for. We've moved on because most of us, I should say, not certainly all of us, but in the Western world, most of us are blessed to have air conditioning, so we don't swelter in the heat, although some people do sadly have to be outside, and we have got heat in the winter. If you play the game and you make any money at all, you probably have those basic things. You at least have a fan that might keep you a little bit cool, or you have a space heater that sparks every so often, and you worry it's going to, but it's, it puts out some heat, right? There's food in the icebox for a lot of us. There's gas in a car that can take us around town, and we can go on the highway at 100 miles an hour to get from place to place if we want. We have all of these things, but at the end of the day, what are we doing with the time that is still occupying the space that we fill. Okay, fine, I'm comfortable, but what am I doing? I'm lounging. I'm wasting the time. I'm not creating anything. I'm not contemplating anything. I'm not concerned about anything. I'm just languishing in the most comfort that's possible until this experience comes to an inevitable conclusion through physical death. That's a waste of this experience, if you ask me, and if you ask any theologian or any philosopher, they're going to tell you the same thing. And I think it ties directly into that next stage of not only our individual progression in the cosmos, but our collective progression in the cosmos. And that's the bubble we have to get outside of, is the Dorito blowjob bubble. Hey, what are you going to do this weekend? Oh, it's going to be a great weekend. I'm going to get, my girlfriend's already promised me 3 blowjobs she owes me because, I fixed the lawnmower last weekend and took the kids shopping and she didn't want to do it. So I'm going to get blowjobs galore and Doritos. That's my weekend. Blowjobs and Doritos. It's great, but it's only going to get you so far, and that's not very far.
Oh, gosh.
It's time to get out of the blowjob Dorito bubble and into the next membrane of existence. And once we're there, I think that's when the magic really happens. Holy shit.
How do you think that weekend compares to a weekend in the Andromeda galaxy?
Here's my big concern. I'll answer this by telling you my concern.
Okay.
About a weekend in the Andromeda galaxy. Because every fiber of my being, except for one little loose one that's kind of flapping out in space and needs to be tamed, is saying to me, a weekend in the Andromeda galaxy is beyond any comprehensible senses that we possess ability to know, how amazing it would be. You don't even... It will tickle and touch and stroke and maneuver and manipulate and titillate and bring vibrations and sensations to parts of you never even knew existed or could exist. But that one little flap that's hanging out in space is still a little bit concerned that the Andromedans are going to turn to me and say, "What are these blowjobs you speak of? We want them. Masses of them." And Doritos, too.
You've been holding out on us. Damn you, Earthling.
And that's the moment I go, shit, we've got it backwards. We're on top, and they're the ones that are trying to get in, and this is totally different.
And why do they sound like John Lovitz?
Here's how I can be pretty convinced, though, even through evidence of living, that we've got it the right way, is because, again, blowjobs and Doritos, for as wonderful as they are, they make you fat and they keep you in bed. They make you lazy and fat. And those aren't progressive things. So, yeah, a weekend in Andromeda is going to teach you some progressive things universally. Blowjobs and Doritos, sadly, is not. It's going to feel good and going to taste great at the same time, but, just not going to get you anywhere.
I'm still wondering, why do they sound like John Lovitz?
I don't know. That was the voice I chose for the Andromedans. We must have these Doritos now. All right, so download time as we finish out here. I don't know if this ties in or not, but I've been sitting on this for 5 episodes now, and I feel like it just needs to get said already so we can move on. And it might, I suppose, in a way, because we were talking about the deaths of Hulk Hogan and Ozzy Osbourne and Malcolm Jamal Warner earlier. And when I was at the gym today, I could feel myself kind of giving out at a certain point. And I felt, this happened just hours ago too. I felt the presence of my maternal grandmother and my mother and my sister who've all passed away around me. And I felt like they were very much urging me on. In fact, I got little pictures of them leaning on me and pushing or picking up my legs and saying, here, we're helping you. And it was really cool. So
I thought you were going to say Ozzy Osbourne there for a minute. Just keep running. Don't stop running. Why are you stopping?
Are we allowed to do that now that he's dead? Is that offensive now that he's dead?
I don't think it's offensive. I think what we're doing is we're celebrating his existence, and I think he would appreciate that.
That's literally been my Ozzy impression for 25 years now.
No. I don't think it's insulting. I think, we're acknowledging his presence on Earth, and there's probably a glimmer somewhere in the universe.
Here's the problem with a lot of the Ozzy content that I watched subsequent to his death, because I needed to do this. I host a classic rock 4-hour block on FM radio. So, Ozzy can't pass away and I don't say anything.
Right.
That's
a tough one. Yeah.
So I have to, and I do have a favorite Ozzy non-musical moment, and it's from the documentary The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years, where he's making eggs in his kitchen. And the film's producer and director, who was a woman who was very anti-metal scene and was trying to uncover and showcase all of the debaucheries and all of the sins that were going on and all the depravity and things that were happening in LA during the metal scene in the 1980s, late 1980s. She had good intentions, I'll give her that, but she's there filming him, and she's talking to Ozzy about his time in the Betty Ford Clinic, drying out from alcohol and drugs. And I'll paraphrase it just by saying, since we don't have it queued up, she says, "Tell me about your time in the Betty Ford Clinic. How was that?" And he says, "Boring." But he says, "Yeah, I did. There's an educational value to it there. I did. You learn that you are an alcoholic, and I am an alcoholic and a drug addict, and I always will be. That's a fact. That's the way it is." And then she says, "But you feel better now that you quit drinking." And he says, "No." And that's it. Cut.
That's honest, isn't it?
And it's very, and then, yeah. So if nothing else, Ozzy's very honest. But I tried to pick up on a few others, and I don't know. I mean, the one about him, like going to get his driver's license like 19 times, and he goes in drunk as a skunk, high as a kite every time. He fell asleep at the wheel during one of the tests, apparently. I mean, it's not funny. The man's out there in danger. I'm sorry, I hate to be that guy, but to me, it's not funny. The guy's out there endangering lives on the roadway during his driving test, falling asleep. He's so drunk at the wheel of a car. That's not funny. I'm sorry. I have my limitations. And so while I appreciate Ozzy's talent as a musician and his voice, and I'll keep the songs in my collection, I don't think, his personal life, again, is something that I wanted to traipse around in a whole lot. That's why I wasn't big into the Osbournes or any reality TV show for that matter, because it's fiction to begin with. We're only going to see what they work up for us to see. A lot of it's going to be, made up anyway. I don't know.
Sorry, but let's get back to your download.
Yeah. So anyway, my download, in honor of that thought of the fact that, he and that people die every day, including people that are a lot closer to us than the famous people that we revere. It's a simple download that I wrote some time ago. It says, "We all die for each other in a way. We all transform and transmutate from this experience to go to a place where we can guide others who are still here until we decide to return ourselves." And basically, all that is talking about is that death is not the end, that this is cyclical, and that when we do pass, it's my belief that we are, again, probably a lot of us, maybe we move on to different places and do different things and learn different lessons or have different experiences. But I would guess a good chunk of us, a fair portion of us, circle back, and even if we don't reincarnate physically, we are assigned to somebody or a group of somebodies, and we are assisting from, again, that ether, that place that is always there, that's part of the glue that sticks everything and binds everything together, but that we only perceive, or that we only tend to see out of the corner of our eye when the moment is right. That shadowy realm that we can't define empirically, and we've been fighting and killing each other about the existence of for thousands of years now, that place. So I think that was the thought. And like I said, it's interesting that I would have that experience earlier today at the gym, because it was very palpable. I really felt like those presences, those energies that I knew as those people, were there with me, and they're always there close by. But I think maybe I subconsciously called upon them to help me without knowing it. Or maybe it was just a moment where they decided to step in and make their presence more known. And I was thankful enough, gladdened enough not to ignore it. But anyway, that was the thought, very basic thought that, do we go on? Yes, in a manner of speaking, but we also remain attached to this experience to help guide not just the people that we've loved and known in this lifetime, but many others potentially through this experience, because we're on the other side now, and there's this side and another side, and both have to go somewhere. Both are progressing. It's not static on the other side. And so, it needs the best things that can happen in this experience, in this realm, to happen just as much as we need the best things to happen over there. And that's what they're there to ensure.
And before you know it, you're dancing naked in a ship like Christopher Walken in Communion.
It's not usually this small. Really, I can tell you. There's a south breeze. It's blowing in. It's very cold. If we had more of a zephyr going on right now, it would be enormous, even dragging on the deck. But it's not doing that. It's a cold breeze.
Have you ever noticed how our deep conversations always come back to some form of nudity and Christopher Walken?
Just like all things in life should, yes.
What are we listening to?
Well, I know we can't play Sailing from Christopher Cross, which was the obvious choice today, since it was referenced several times. So instead, this is the Boys from Heaven with Sailing On. Pretty cool band.
All right, as we sail on into the sunsets. Till we meet again, Jack.
Looking forward to it.
And I know from this moment that nothing was ever the same. I was witness to an omen saying you were the one to blame. I know I've done no wrong, but it's always the same old song. Oh, so you better believe it when I say that my story's about to change my soul.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own Existence Brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.